Actually, I was expecting a little bit more controversy about that. Like people saying, "Oh, what is this now? Are they going to make a ballad album or whatever?"
Yeah.
But then with the next song, with the Order of Fear, I think people knew in which direction this is going, and also with Moonfire now.
Niels of Orden Ogan, thank you so much for your time today. Super excited to talk to you. Order of Fear is coming, or the Order of Fear is coming in July. How are you doing today, man? Because the machine is rolling again. You know, with one extra year for a pandemic, you guys have an album every 2 years. Like you can put your clock to it almost. Is it same old, same old? Is it a machine rolling, or this one feels special?
It is a little bit different. But first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate your time as well. So, but okay, I want to talk about what it's like with the albums. Yeah, well, to be honest, I mean, the last record we did, it wasn't too much work because it was just the same album as before with different singers, different versions of the same songs. And actually, we didn't do that much promotion for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for the last real album, for the Final Days album, of course, it was not really sure what we should do because it was right in the middle of the pandemic and things were planned like tours and so on, and that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And right now it feels more like we're back to the full thing, like it used to be before the pandemic and so on. We're going on tour. We're having a lot of shows this year to promote the album and the band, of course. And I think what changed a little bit is for us is also that we're doing more on social media. At least we try. And I think this is also a thing that grew over the pandemic. Is guys like you to interviews and so on. And not only like bigger magazines or whatever, like the real big ones or so. That's changed a bit, and it's a little bit stressful, but it's still nice. It's fun.
Yeah.
None will stop me. Let them burn in the wood.
Now, hey, you mentioned already, and let's just jump straight into that. You're going to be playing a lot of shows. You're going to be playing a lot of festivals starting pretty soon. Last time I saw you play was actually that very weird Alcatraz festival in 2021. That one festival when everything was still locked down for a pandemic, but everybody inside was vaccinated and tested and all that kind of good stuff. But what I mostly remember of that show is how hot the main stage was. At moments like that, are you happy that unlike Seeb, you're not wearing a ridiculous costume and outfit?
Yes, absolutely. I remember that show because it was weird here, as you said, and I think it might have been one of the first live shows for us after the pandemic.
I think
maybe
so.
The first, second. And for the costumes, back in the day, we all had like more elaborate costumes, but now only Seeb is wearing that, and for me, that's very, very good. But I think heat-wise, the worst festival was like last year, Masters of Rock in Czech Republic.
I remember you guys posting about that, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was. I really had to pour cold water all over my body so I don't faint. But Alcatraz, that was also hot, but not that hot.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, before we get to all these festivals, because you're going to play a lot of festivals, going to be a busy summer for you guys.
Yep.
First, we've got 2 release shows, which are really cool because you've got some legendary people joining you there. You got Brainstorm and Rage. Knowing that, let's be honest, when you're playing a festival show, you're going to get limited time, and you've got a bunch of old classics that you have to play that the audience is expecting from you. So, new album-wise, you're going to be limited in what you can do. But on these release shows, what can the real diehard fans expect from that?
Well, of course, we're playing a full set, a full show, like, I don't know, 1.5 hours or maybe even a little bit more.
Awesome.
But actually, we didn't work on the set list yet, but I'm pretty sure there will be some of the new songs in it as well. I don't think we will play the whole album. but I think maybe 4 or 5 songs. That's very possible.
Okay. Well, let's go into this album because it's an interesting album. It's either the capstone, as we say here in North America, like the climax of everything that came before it and wrapping up one era of the band, or it's already the first album of a new era of the band. And want to give perspective on that, and it feels like that from the music side, but also from obviously the lyrical side of things, because there's a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of things going on this album. But let's start with the start. This album, breaks loose like no other album you've done before. Not that every album has long intros or what have you. I've got some albums that just start with a rocking song, but never in this way. Where people that press play will be like, oh wait, did I skip already to somewhere in the middle of the song, because it's just right there. It's really in your face. It's really cool to see. That must have been a very conscious decision of the band. Like, help me understand. Like, was that you wanted to make a statement from the first second?
Yes, basically yes. We wanted to. Well, I have to go back a little bit. So what we wanted to do is kind of what you said before. Like, it's taking more or less everything we have done so far and put it on one album, kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm also not sure if it's the end of an era or a new era. It's just what we did,
Yeah.
And
okay.
we will see what we will do on the next album, but that's still far in the future. But the first song, of course, we wanted to let people know that this is going to be like more in your face album, more on point and more focused on the metal aspect of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have like all of our trademarks, like the big choirs and big melodies and so on. But yes, we wanted it to be a little bit more raw and a little bit more organic, so to say, and in your face.
Yeah, definitely an intense way to start the album. And I think it's a really good choice. And it continues on with the songs that follow the opening song. I'm trying not to give too many spoilers as well, because when this comes out, most people will not have had a chance to listen to the full album. But
I was just thinking about that, because at the time we're making this interview right now, most people, apart from the press guys, didn't hear the album so far.
Exactly, and only 3 songs at this point.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that with the singles and the videos, we actually did the opposite thing. We started with a power ballad, kind of.
Yeah.
But that was also a conscious decision. Actually, I was expecting a little bit more controversy about that. Like, people saying, "Oh, what is this now? Are they going to make a ballad album or whatever?"
Yeah.
But then with the next song, with the Order of Fear, I think people knew in which direction this is going, and also with Moonfire now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the people that are expecting a softer album from you guys will be getting some surprises when they push play.
My worst enemy has always been myself.
You mentioned the song The Order of Fear, which is an interesting song because it kind of recaps the whole album in one song. We get stories that deal with change and time for a new generation and what have you, and you don't even have to read too much into it to realize this song tells the story of the band or a new generation of bands taking over. There's a ton of Easter eggs to other albums that you've done, and also what maybe most people that are watching this right now don't realize, or the Order of Fear is what the name of the band actually means. So it's that's the right way to interpret this song. It's the journey of the band, if you will.
I wouldn't say that the song is necessarily about the journey of the band. I mean, the video clip is definitely, because we have all these different setups that are resemblant to like former album covers we had and so on. For sure. And yes, the song itself also musically sums up a lot of things that we did on the past albums. But the meaning of it's actually more about the story of our main character, Alister Vale. But I think with most of our songs, you can interpret this on different levels, you know.
Telling a story and also, like, you know, we mentioned earlier a little in a joking way, like the costumes that were more elaborate for all of the band, you know, a little while ago. Stage is still going strong and warm on stage, but having a band with a backstory and a lore, if you will, and recurring characters and so on, we are, in a way, in the golden age for that kind of power metal. If you think about all the bands that are doing well, yourselves included, these are all bands that have, at the very least, a very clear theme or have a backstory. You know, anything from Glory Hammer to Ailstorm, Powerwolf, Sabaton, they all kind of fall in that niche of, and I say this with respect, gimmicky power metal. Does that ever, for you, feel like, oh, that's great because that's what it's needed now? You don't just have to make great music, but people need to see a story, need to see a show, they need to remember you. Does that sometimes feel limiting as well? Because you've kind of gone to a point now that you have such a legacy, you can't write Smoke on the Water anymore, you know?
No, but that's never what we wanted to do in first place. So, I mean, I'm a huge Deep Purple fan, but no, that's not the kind of music we wanted to make as a band. Right. But you say gimmicky bands, and I think we fall into that a little bit, but in the end, not too much, because we have this character who appears in different settings. Like every of our albums has a different theme, and so it's not as limiting as like for other bands that do the one gimmick thing. I would say. I don't want to name names, but. You mentioned it already. And therefore, it's not that limiting for us, actually. I mean, of course, we want to be kind of recognizable, and also by using this character again and some reoccurring characters and so on. But within this world, we can still do a lot and do other gimmicks, so to say. I mean, the whole Alister Vale thing happened before I joined the band, but I think that was the original idea, just to have a character like Eddie from Iron Maiden, for example. But over time, I think there was already like a story-ish kind of thing with him on the first album on Vale, but I think nobody in the band knew where this is going to go, and there was no real plan. I think the plan was basically to have like a recognizable character.
Yeah. Okay. Now that we just, you know, briefly mentioned Iron Maiden, like, you know, in metal, we're always kind of like in this weird situation where we have tremendous respect and also melancholia and nostalgia for the old school and the you know, the legendary bands of old, and they're still around, and you know, Maiden could never release another album, and in 20 years, if they wanted to, they would still headline every festival. But we are seeing now a bunch of bands like yourselves that they're definitely not the newest bands. You've all been working hard and long on this journey, but you're still like a newer generation than the Priests and the Maidens. Yes. But bands really starting to do really well and starting to truly take over, you know, this flag, if you will. Yourselves, we've mentioned some other bands before. Powerwolf here in North America, they're headlining really big arenas right now, which is really cool to see. Sabaton is a similar band. Exactly, right? So, you know, seeing that this. And again, I'm not saying that these newer bands have completely replaced the Priests and the Maidens and what have you at the massive festivals, but it is truly starting to happen now that a new generation seems to be comfortable in taking over as headliners. That must be cool for you to really be front and center of that. And like, how have you experienced that change of, okay, we are like an opener band or a support band for a long time, but it's like, no, we're a headline band now. And I know that didn't come overnight, and that was a lot of hard work, but going through those motions, like, how was that like for you?
Very good question. Actually, we're still in the midst of this transition. And for example, we're not. I mean, we are basically a headlining band on some festivals, at least, but we're not yet as big as Powerwolf or Sabaton, for example.
For sure.
Those guys can play on a level with Iron Maiden, for example. That's where we're not yet, I would say. I mean, as you said, it was a lot of work, but it didn't come overnight. It was like one step up, next step up, and it was rising very slowly. I mean, I remember when I played the first shows with the band, like 13 years ago now. We played some really small places with 50 people and so on. We already had some bigger things here and there, but it just ramped up very slowly over the time, and with all the work we put in, and but maybe we needed that time as well. I mean, you need to get some experience and so on. But now, I guess we would be ready for the headlining spot.
But do you like allow yourself at times to take that step back and go like, "Holy crap, we've achieved quite a bit in 13 years"? Because you make it sound like it didn't feel like that along the way. Every time, just step after step after step.
No, it just always feels like very small steps. But for example, when we played Wacken, 2 years ago? First time on the main stage, and that was stressful, but it was a big festival and so on. But on that day, I didn't realize anything. But a few days later, I watched the recording of it, and then I was, holy shit, that was really big, and there were a lot of people, and it was really great. So the realization often comes a little bit later.
It's always super exciting to see, no matter what genre we're talking about, power metal, death metal, black metal, seeing a newer generation stepping up and taking over. And it's super exciting for you guys to be part of that. I can't wait for all the fans to hear the new album, which feels like a statement of everything that you've been. I mean, it's a self-titled album without making it a self-titled album. They always are a little special. Niels, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you've got an extremely busy schedule right now, and I hope that within the busyness, you can still take a few steps back to appreciate everything going on. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.